What's going on, all you gamers? Here we are back with some more of the Ascent, and today I've got a really nice tank build for you. If you're trying to make it through the campaign, you don't like dying, or maybe if you're just trying that hard difficulty, then this may be the build for you. So if that interests you, stay tuned, that's coming up next. Welcome back, we guys and girls. As always, Full Things Gaming, Full Things Xbox. Then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? I'll bring you all the latest and greatest in hints, tips, guides and builds, and just some fun gameplay and reviews of all the latest games coming out as well. But for today I'm here to show you a build that really is a tank like no other. It can absolutely take the damage, it can dish out a nice chunk of damage, and it's got a chance to run away if things go wrong. So, right, all you gamers, I'm going to chuck on a little bit of footage, just show you what this fella's all about, but hopefully you enjoy it. He's great for hard mode and is just a tank like no other. So if you're worried about struggling with hard mode and you'll find yourself fall over, even if you're doing a lower difficulty, you could very well use this guy. He's an absolute beast and a lot of fun to play with. I'll chuck on the footage and then after that we're going with the build guide. Right, so as you can see, this fella has an absolutely huge gun, but he's not overcompensating, he just likes to use heavy weapons. And his health pool is huge with it. He's definitely a tank, you can tell that as soon as you start playing with him. This guy's absolutely amazing solo or co-op, so it's completely up to you how you want to use his playstyle. But like I said, he's got a nice health pool, 337, and energy of 197. If you wanted to chuck his health pool down a little bit, you very likely could. It is completely up to you. Now the main thing you're going to want is a lot of crit damage. So just over here is his crit rate. We've got it on 17. If you can max that at 20, that would be perfect. Another thing you're going to go for is just down the bottom here, you're using a lot of heavy, so you want quite a chunk of balance. This is down to you. I found probably anything over 15 was perfect. If you wanted to boost it all the way up to 20, you could do that as well. I've chucked it into 20 over here on evasion, just because being able to actually get out of those situations when something's going to land on your head, or there's going to be an exploding barrel, or there's a couple of those melee guys that are going to knock you for 6, is really handy. So make sure you've got at least quite a chunk in evasion. I'd say at least maybe 10, and you should be fine. So work out what you want from that, determined on how many actual skill points you have. Next up, like I said, you're going to want a fair chunk vital signs. If you haven't got enough for 20, don't worry, just put in as much as you can. And again, just down here, body battery. I always like having this a little bit up, just because I found on 0 it's a bit of a pain, it's not quite enough. So I chucked it to 5 and it was pretty much perfect for this build. So for the primary, and I'd say you've got a couple of options here. I was really having fun with Magma Maker. This right here just absolutely tears through any fleshy enemies. It is such a good weapon. Honestly, if you like tearing through them, you like having a lot of fun, this is definitely the flamethrower for you. If however you didn't want that, I would honestly say having a standard one of these, so wherever it is, just down here, the strike breaker, the minigun for the normal version, the ballistic, is also really good and very strong. So I'd say it's probably between those two. If you didn't want to use that, another really nice one to try would be either the Blastmaster or the Overwhelmer. But for myself, I stuck with Magma Maker, and every once in a while I was switching off and going with the minigun. So use it to your own playstyle. Secondly, I was using the Strobos. This one was for dealing with your mechs. It absolutely tore everything apart. It's really nice to use. The only thing you're going to struggle with a tiny bit in this build is the really tough armoured foes. If you are fighting against them, you will take a little bit longer, but you still massacre them, so don't worry, there's no real issues. It just takes a tiny little bit longer because you haven't got anything with piercing on. If you wanted to chuck on a sniper or something with piercing just for that, you very well could, but there's not usually too many of them around to deal with. Now next up, and this is our emergency just in case we do need a bit of health and we weren't able to get out of a situation, and that's the rejuvenation field. I would say if you can, further down the line, if you're going to have a lot of attribute points put into this character, then you're going to want to chuck quite a few more into this one just up the top, the tactical sense, just so that it will recharge faster. However, if you haven't got enough, it doesn't matter. This is just to help out your team or help out yourself if you ever need it. Now this one does take a long while to charge, so if you haven't got anything invested in it, work out how your build's going. If you're struggling for health or you find yourself ever dying, which I think you'll be pretty cushy, then leave this on. But if you are completely fine, I would say chuck on something like maybe a Fragmos grenade or even an AT4 auto turret just to hold a little bit of aggro. Up to you, down to your own playstyle. Next up, and we've gone with this head just over here. Now like I said, it all depends what you've got on. What you're going to be aiming for is as high as possible on your defences. So if you'll have a little look there, the main thing I would say, try to get your physical up as high as possible, because the only thing that's really going to hit you is every once in a while if you get something come into your bubble and they're able to hit you with probably melee, or you take a couple of bullets accidentally, but 9 times out of 10 you are going to be fine from a distance. So melee is definitely, or physical, sorry I keep saying melee, physical is definitely the thing that you want most defensive. As you can see down the bottom there as well, I've got vital signs and body. Really nice, I love both of those on pretty much all builds, so that's really good to have. If you've got something better, or if you've got something slightly different, just adjust it to what you've got. But the main thing you're going to be going for is probably a little bit of vital signs, body energy. If you had crit or something like that, that would also work out completely fine. Or even if you had something in your frame, all of those would go towards working. And next up for the chest, and I've gone with this one just here, the E50 extra padded Kill Ball vest. Now this one's really nice. It gives you lower body, it gives you the balance, perfect for this build. It's also got really nice defensive stats. All in all, really perfect for what we're going for with this tanky guy. Obviously, if you've got something like a purple piece of gear that you think's got better stats on it defensively and has attributes or boosts to work towards your build, so for example, again, like I said, any crit, any frame, any kind of health, anything that's going to help you in those with that tanky build, you could chuck down instead. Lastly, I've gone for the Netslinger pants. This had body energy and balance, really nice for the build I was going for, and again fair chunks of actual defense up the top there. A nice bit of physical, a nice bit of energy, pretty much good all the way through. If you've got any purple ones, you may want to swap them off as long as it goes towards the build again. Right, so as you can see from his stats, defense is the main thing you're after. You're going to want the biggest bit to be invested in physical. Physical, energy, digital and fire all try to get over 100. Physical, try and get as high as possible. The only thing that's going to hit you would be something getting very close to you. So physical is definitely the way forward with this build. But all in all, as long as you've got a nice kind of chunk of defense about yourself, you should be completely fine with this build. Attributes, you're going to want head for that crit, you're going to want lower body for the stability and for making sure that you use your augments to the best that can be, and internal you've got an augment for that, and because you want a nice chunk of health. And the reason that we've got 40 in frame is because it means we can use our, I want to say, bubble shield, hyper focus as much as possible, and it is up for a ridiculously long time. Really fun and makes you really feel tanky, which is the role you're performing. For the boosts, I've got them with vital signs, body energy and balance. All of those work perfectly on this build. If you wanted to adjust it slightly, you very well could. In the end, if you, like I said, try to get crit up as high as possible. Now next up, and as you probably saw from the footage, this guy is definitely able to just kind of be in the thick of things. It's really fun to play as this character. I found playing in co-op was absolutely really fun because you just didn't really worry too much and you just went around shooting everything. It really is a lot of fun playing like this, and you're so survivable, it is unbelievable. So the first one we're going to be using is Overclock. Now, if you don't know about Overclock, it's probably one of, if not the best for survivability in the game, and hand in hand with what we're using on our second AUG slot, it's going to just make you an absolute beast. So this one right here increases your energy regeneration, tactical recharge and reload speed. Now, as you saw, I had nothing in reload speed. This build would probably not work very well if I didn't have this on, because you definitely need a little bit more reload speed. Like I said, your tactical recharge is faster as well, which is nice because our tactical is a little bit on the slow side, but all in all, one of the best ones for this build and great for any tank. Overclock really helps you survive. And one thing it doesn't mention, if you're not hit for about 2 or 3 seconds, you regen all of your health. Make sure you've got this on, make sure you can have it up as much as possible, and along with how much we've actually got in our actual roll mechanic, meaning we can use that as much as we want. If you are getting butchered or you're finding yourself in trouble, just roll away until your health regens or kicks in at all, and you'll be completely fine to come back into the fray. Now this one right here, honestly, when I used it early game and wasn't spec'd out right, I hated this. I really did. I didn't enjoy it in the slightest. In a tank build, now knowing what I'm doing, it's crazy good, ridiculously good, and just keeps you alive in pretty much all situations. The only time you're going to die to this is from being stomped by an absolute huge mech, or getting hit from melee, or standing next to an exploding barrel, which is just, don't stand next to exploding barrels on hard mode. It doesn't work out well at all. But other than that, the bullets aren't going to hit you. Even if they do, it's very rare. You can dodge away because of how much we've got invested in that. You could quite easily do what I have now found is the best thing, which is when they're shooting at you, even if there's so much going on you don't know what's going to happen, then just press your B button on the Xbox at the very least and crouch. That bubble makes everything slowed and you're ducking underneath everything and nothing's going to hit you. It's really cool, and it's something that I didn't realise until I started playing as a tank build. Really nice, and along with the overclock means your survivability goes through the roof. Now next up, and we've got Vital Signs Booster, just to make sure we've got a little bit of extra health. Where a tank, we want to make sure we never die. With this build, you never do. Like I said earlier, if you want to change a little bit of your health downwards, then you very well can, and chuck a little more into crit. I was making this fella just to see how he was, and he is so survivable. I think you probably could lose a little bit of health that way. And last but definitely not least is Digital Thorn Module. The reason for this, like I said, the only time I was really taking damage was when I was getting hit with melee, and didn't see them in time if I was overwhelmed by too many people, so having that damage go back to them was really nice. But it is completely up to you. If you wanted to change off this, I'd probably say put on your tactical recharge and then chuck a few in that later on, meaning that you'll be able to get your rejuvenation back a bit more. Right, all you guys and girls, I am sure I've taken enough of your time, but hopefully you enjoy this build, and let me know what you guys and girls think in the comments. He's definitely a beast, he's definitely tankier than pretty much anything, and it works really well together. Having that and having that means you're nigh on invincible unless you completely botch up and just stand still for an age getting hit in the face. Yeah, definitely a fun build, I really enjoyed it, and it works great on hard mode. As always guys and girls, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox. Take care, I'll see you on the next day.